Are we live? I think we are. Hi guys, welcome to the channel. It's been a little while since we last did one of these live streams. I think it was WWDC, and it was popular. Surprisingly popular. These things are always surprising when they're popular because it's just me, little old me in Leamington Spa. Well, Warwick technically, which most people on here will not know where that is. So for you guys to be tuning in on your either busy days or as it is over here in the UK, your evenings, is fantastic. On that note, let's have a quick round table, as they say in the corporate world. Where are you calling in from? Let's go. Indiana, awesome. Let's see how many of these places I haven't been to. Is anyone from Warwick or Leamington or Warwickshire? Anyone calling in from there? Surrey. Okay, Surrey's close. Chicago, Portugal. I love... Oh, Siri's now talking to me. Brilliant. That was a really bad time to come on then, Siri. Awesome. Wigan. Amazing. San Antonio, Kenilworth. Oh, someone is from Kenilworth. You're not far from me. Southern... I can't keep up with this. Glasgow, Cornwall, Kent, Germany. I came back from Germany yesterday, I think. I'm very tired, by the way. This could get in very interesting. Cambridge, done that already. Stoke, done that. Chicago, I've said a lot of these already. Where else? Bakersfield. Where else? Reading. Rich Simpkins is in Leamington. Amazing. Another Germany. Coventry, John. There are some people in Warwickshire. I love this. Gloucester, New York, Finland. This is amazing. This is amazing, isn't it? I mean, again, I'm of the age where I remember the internet not being here, so it still amazes me that I can do this and you guys turn up and you're from all over the place. Bromley, New Forest, some lovely places here. I'm from the Mushroom Kingdom. Of course you are. India, Southern California. Wow, Southern California. Leighton Buzzard. We went from Southern California to Leighton Buzzard then. Sheffield, Pennsylvania, Oxford, Peru, Tampa, The Hague, Slough, another one from Coventry, Chicago, Ireland. Should we just do this? Let's just do this all night. Ireland, Copenhagen, Munich, Halifax, Mars, of course, Steeple Ashton, Pakistan, Portugal, Timbuktu, Norwich, Dallas. I'm from Kentucky Fried Chicken, yes. Altrincham, Sweden, Nottingham, some other places I can't pronounce. Birmingham. There's plenty of people in and around where I live, which is interesting and slightly scary. Another Germany, London, Portland, Belgium, Switzerland, Bristol, Connecticut, Bournemouth, another Bournemouth, Stratford, Ireland, Bolton. If anyone tunes into this now and just sees me sitting here reading out random place names, this is more interesting than the Apple event, isn't it? Is it? I think it is. Warwick, someone is in Warwick. The Death Star, amazing. Essex, we could do this. I think if all 249 people do this, I'll be here all night. But that is amazing. Anyway, I'll stop doing that now. Thanks, guys, for coming on. I really appreciate it, whatever time it is your end. We have just had, about an hour ago, the Glow Time Apple event, which I'll try and stop banging the table. And I'm using my MacBook for reasons I won't bore you with, my MacBook mic. So I'll try and stay... I won't type, because that will be annoying. So we've just had the Glow Time iPhone 16, AirPods, Apple Intelligence a lot event, which there's a lot to talk about, ironically, when there wasn't that much shown, really. My very quick synopsis of that event was the fact that it was 90% stuff we've heard about at WWDC and 10% new hardware. I think, is that fair? Is that unfair? I don't know. That's how it felt. And I've got lots of thoughts, and I would guess you've got loads of thoughts. And prior experience with these live streams tells me that we get the most value when I'm not talking and when I'm getting questions from you. So I'll give you some of my thoughts on each thing that they went through in the order that they announced it. This is very interactive, and I want to get you guys involved. This time I do have some help. It's not just me doing this on my own, which it has been in the past. And if you came on these live streams in the past, you'll know that it's, from my perspective, very difficult to keep up with all the comments and the questions. So we do have someone, Michelle, who you can't see, she's hidden away in the background, monitoring everything. That sounds very school teacherish, don't worry. You're not being watched, or you are being watched in a way, but in a nice way. She's doing this so she can pick out the questions and any comments that she thinks I might want to see, and she's putting those into a separate little container so I can find them amongst all of the chat. So you can carry on chatting, you can carry on asking questions, and I won't promise, I will do my very best to answer as many questions and cover things that you're asking as possible, because I've got someone helping me now, which is good. Let's get straight into it. Where do we start? Very quickly, the event itself. Excuse me. The event itself. Have a quick drink of water. We talked about this on our Slack channel, the guys who work with me during the event, and I think the general consensus was that it felt really rushed. I don't think it was any shorter than the last iPhone event. I think it was about the same sort of length in terms of the airtime that they gave everything. But it felt really rushed and incredibly padded with stuff, which goes back to what I was saying a moment ago about the whole 90% stuff we've heard about and 10% new hardware. That's genuinely what it felt like to me. I'd love to know if that's how you felt as well. Tell me what you think about the event overall. And also, do you miss the kind of not in person, the live element, the people being on stage? I know that if you go to Apple Park, never been invited, but if you go to Apple Park, you do sit down in the Steve Jobs Theatre, and I think Tim Cook normally comes out, and someone else normally as well, and they say hello and they do a bit to that crowd there, but then it switches to the pre-recorded stuff. So I know that happens, but we don't get that. We just get this pre-recorded thing, which they've they've reduced the amount of graphics and weird transitions and things. They're a little bit less fiddly now, but they just feel very, very compact. And this one just felt like a barrage of things that we already knew, really. Let's have a quick look. What have we got in here? I'm looking at your questions. Yeah, so Chris says you missed the live. Let's bring you up, actually, Chris. You missed the live aspect. It seems more genuine. Yeah, I agree. I think that's partly what it is. I think there's something about that, particularly when you get tech people in the tech industry who didn't get into it to stand on stage and talk to millions of people. There's always that element of nervousness and I suppose relatability, actually, which does help when they're showing this stuff. And things do go wrong, as we saw at the Google event recently. Live demos and things occasionally go wrong, and it's funny, but it's the reality of this stuff. So, but you don't see any of that with Apple because it's all so polished and engineered to within an inch of its life. So, yeah, I know what you mean with that one, Chris. Okay, so I'll tell you what we'll do. 4K mods, do you like McLarens, don't you? I do like the McLaren F1 team. I like the Mercedes F1 team as well. I'm a bit weird. I like both. Right, that was the first off-topic thing. Let's get back to the event. So let's start with the Apple Watch Series 10. Now, I'm not wearing a watch at the moment, which is very unusual for me. The reason I'm not wearing it is because I realised about 30 seconds before we went live that I was wearing an embargoed watch, which I can't show you. I'll take guesses as to what that might have been. If anyone gets it, I'll be amazed. But I had to very quickly take it off. But the point being, I've not worn my Apple Watch Ultra. In fact, it's not here. It's over in the cupboard over there somewhere. I've not worn that for about a year. And I haven't missed it at all. I genuinely haven't. So I'm quite keen, though, to get back into the Apple Watch. And I think it's time, and Apple was quite generous with this, unknowingly for me, in that they didn't launch a new Apple Watch Ultra, which is annoying on the one hand, but equally, for me, it's quite handy because I don't feel... I think if we'd had a brand new Apple Watch Ultra 3, I'd have felt really tempted to get that and just go down that route again. But because we haven't got that, we've just got this new... is it the black finish now? What do they call it? the new satin black finish for the Apple Watch Ultra 2. It looks pretty cool, but it's not enough for me to go and get one and make loads of videos about it. The fact we do, however, have a brand new and a newly designed Apple Watch Series 10, that has really tempted me to go back to basics, if you like, and away from the Ultra and into the world of the regular Apple Watch. So I have one of those on order, and it is the black one. It's the, what do they call it? Jet black. I think I bought that with the black Nike strap. Black everything, basically. It looks very, very sleek. And it's this brand new design, so it's got up to 30% more screen. I've got my notes over here, by the way. Up to 30% more screen area than the previous generations. And it's, I think, from what they were saying, it's got a slightly bigger display than the Apple Watch Ultra 2, so which is a weird position to be in, isn't it? It's a bit like having an iPad with an M4 chip, but no Mac with an M4 chip. So it's smaller, it's thinner, it's lighter. It's 9.7 millimeters, which is the thinnest ever. 10% thinner than the Series 9. As soon as they started saying that, I was thinking, oh no, what's the battery life like? But apparently it's the same. In fact, is it better? Did they say it was better? No, still 18 hours of battery life. What else did they say about it? So they've had to squish everything. So they've had to make the speakers smaller, at which point they said, oh, and now you can start playing music through your Apple Watch Series 10, which you couldn't do before. I'd completely forgotten that you couldn't do that. You can obviously you've always been able to take phone calls on there on the Apple Watch, but you can't play stuff through it. So the fact they're now publicising the fact you can play audio through the Apple Watch Series 10 makes me very curious about what it sounds like, because Apple is very good. Say what you like about them with other stuff, they're incredibly good at making small things sound big, whether it be the iPad or the iPhone or the MacBook. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Apple Watch Series 10 sounds amazing. Who knows? Or it might sound terrible. So that would be interesting. They had to integrate the antenna into the housing on the back, on this metal back. That was to obviously make it thinner, etc., etc. It's got the S10 SIP, which is the chip in there. All they talked about with that was intelligence and machine learning and everything. So that was that. It looks very similar to the current one. You can see it's thinner. Apparently the digital crown is thinner as well. But yeah, I'm just very keen to get into it and get back to that Apple Watch. 'Cause I had the first Apple Watch 2015. I then went to whatever the one was after that, and the one after that, and then eventually I upgraded to the Ultra when that came out. So it's like going back to where I started with the Apple Watch, and I'm very much looking forward to it actually. So yeah, what else? Oh, sleep apnea. It's got this. They spent a lot of time talking about sleep apnea and the fact that the Series 10. I don't know if any of the previous generations will have this. If you know that, let me know. That I use these live streams, guys, to get some information from you, people who are watching it a bit more intently than me. If you know if it does go, if the sleep apnea detection goes back to Series 9, let me know. I don't think it does. I think it's Series 10 only. That's a pretty cool thing. I used to work with someone who had sleep apnea, and it was a terrible thing, horrible thing to have to deal with. And apparently a lot of people don't realize they have it. So this is designed to help you discover that, which is interesting. But that was that's all there was about the Apple Watch. So I'm looking forward to going back to the regular Apple Watch. Are you? Who's getting one? Are you going to get an Apple Watch Series 10? These questions, by the way, I'm going to keep going back to the questions. I have a feeling they're going to take us all over the place because, again, having done these live streams quite a bit in the past, I know that the questions come at me about all sorts of different things. So we'll keep going off topic, but it doesn't matter. Let's have a quick look on here. Chris, have we plateaued on iPhone? Maybe even with the Apple Watch, because the updates are so minor over the last few years. Yeah, I mean, even with this Apple Watch Series 10, it's still, I mean, it's a new design. But when Tim Cook said we've got this amazing new design, and it cut to the video of it, it was it just looked like the Apple Watch, didn't it? It didn't look that different. And I still wish that the Apple Watch was circular. I much prefer round watch faces personally. That's the one thing that I've always kind of missed, I think. The other thing it has is it has the depth app, which you get at the moment only on the Ultra. I don't go diving, but I have been swimming with my Apple Watch Ultra, and it does, as soon as you put it underwater, you get that depth app thing pop up automatically. Looks very cool. I have no use for it whatsoever in Leamington Spa, obviously. And a Tides app. I don't know if that's new. Keep an eye on the Tides. That means nothing to me. I live in central UK. So, but I agree, Chris. I think maybe we have plateaued a little bit, which is a shame, but I think it is. James, this is a completely different question. The big question is, will Mark Ellis be ditching his Android phone for the iPhone 16? If it is a no, then it is a failure of an event for me. That's interesting. I'll come back to that, James. He says, knocking his glasses off. I'll come back to that, James, when we get to the iPhone. I do have an answer for you, though. I knew I was going to get a few questions about that. Okay, let's get a few of these other questions answered. A3P Tech says, do you think Tim Cook has taken Apple as far as he can and it's time for a change at the top? Don't feel like they've moved on really in the last 4 years. Let me have a drink of water before answering this. It's all about shareholders. If he's delivering value for shareholders, and I'll be completely honest, I don't take much interest, or I don't really keep an eye on what's going on with the stock price of Apple. But I know that this sort of stuff is driven by shareholders, and if he is keeping them happy, he'll stay in place for as long as he needs to, basically, and for as long as he wants to, until he decides to retire or goes to do something else. And he has completely changed the company. You think what it used to be when Steve Jobs was around. This is a very different business now, and it is all about delivering shareholder value. That's what it's all about, and that's probably why it crossed my mind earlier. What I felt like with this event is that, and I've got nothing to back this up at all, but again, we'll never probably know if this is the case, but it feels like Apple has pulled back on R&D spend on hardware. It just feels like someone just said, in fact, a lot of you have been saying, I think, it feels like they're not doing as much with these devices as they used to. So whether it be the Apple Watch, okay, they're making it smaller and thinner, etc. If it's the iPhone, which we'll come on to in a moment, adding a button to it and changing the camera layout and what have you, there's not much more that they seem to be doing. And you can say the same thing about the iPad. You can say the same thing about the Mac. We're probably going to get new Macs before the end of the year. They'll have an M4 chip in them, and that's probably it. There won't be anything new. In fairness, there's not much you can do with this stuff. The iPhone is the iPhone. It's a slab of titanium in this case. It's just metal and glass and stuff inside that makes it all work. There's not much you can do with these things. But it does. I'd love to see what their spend is on R&D for hardware versus software. It must be massively in favour of the latter, and that will be because the latter is what brings new customers in. It's what ties people into the ecosystem, which is the big thing with this. There were quite a few things in this event today, which is all about tying people into the ecosystem more and more and more. Even the intro, the whole thing with showing how the Apple Watch and the iPhone, etc., has saved people's lives and changed their lives and helped them do all this stuff. It was very much, this technology is here to really help you, and it can change your life, etc., if you still buy it, if you stick with all of it, if you have an iPhone paired to an Apple Watch, yada, yada, yada. It's the same old stuff. And that is really good. Going back to the whole Tim Cook thing, that's what he's brought about. He's obviously invested a lot of time in that. So he probably hasn't taken it as far as it can go in terms of revenue, and that's the thing. That's what it's all about, which isn't always great for us, is it? But there you go. Okay, let's. So that was the watch. I will be like I said, I've got one on order. I will review it. I will compare it against some other devices that I've looked at recently. I've looked at some I've tested some very, very interesting watches over the last 12 months, really, and none of them have been Apple Watches. They've all been Android based, whether they're from Samsung or Huawei or OnePlus, etc. And they're all really interesting. And there's one or two that are my favourites. And Garmin as well. Some amazing watches. And they've all kind of taken me further and further away from the Apple Watch. So it'd be interesting to see how I get on with the Series 10. Then we come on to AirPods. Now let me grab my AirPods while I'm talking about them, because that will make sense. So these are the AirPods Pro 2. These are the USB-C version. The first thing they've done is bring out a brand new version of the regular AirPods, which are now the AirPods 4. Now, I've completely lost track of the AirPods journey. So I switched to the AirPods Pro as soon as the original ones came out. So I lost interest completely in regular AirPods. I've never reviewed them, never bought a pair since I bought these. So I don't really know what's happened in terms of the generational kind of progression. And I saw someone said on Twitter, X, whatever it's called, that there was no AirPods 3. Is that right? Did we not have an AirPods 3? Have they gone from just AirPods 2 or something to second generation to AirPods 4? That's irrelevant, really. It's just a number, isn't it? But whatever they've done, they've come out with these new AirPods 4. We did, says Rudge. There was AirPods 3, says Nick. Hi, Nick. There was. Okay, there you go. Whoever that was wrong. So we now have AirPods 4, and what they've done, rather confusingly, is, well, firstly, they've redesigned them, so they look very, very similar to these, to AirPods Pro. I've just realised I've taken these out. I haven't lost my audio, have you? Can you still hear me? This happens sometimes when you pull out the AirPods. Can you still hear me, guys? Tell me, please say you can still hear me. In fact, I won't take them out. Let's just leave them there. AirPods, so they've taken the AirPods Pro design and basically removed the rubbery tip and left them as normal kind of in-ear things without rubbery, what they call I told you I was tired. They're AirPods Pro without the rubber bit on the end. And they've implemented the H2 chip. I don't know if that was not there before. Again, answers on a postcard. There's a new acoustic architecture built into them, so better sound in theory. Personalized spatial audio. You can also, I love this, you can for Siri announcements, you can nod your head to say yes and shake your head to say no. That's pretty cool. USB-C. And it's the smallest case ever for AirPods, which delivers 30 hours of total battery life. What else? Voice isolation for when you on the phone. You can basically, the person on the other end can just hear your voice and none of the background stuff going on. That was it. So that sounded quite interesting. And then they said, and this completely threw me, they then said, oh, but we've made another version of AirPods 4 with noise cancelling. So we have AirPods 4, which I think is the base model, the cheapest ones you can buy, cheapest. And then we have AirPods 4 with noise cancelling, which are basically the exact same design. I think it's the same case in terms of the size of the case, but this case has wireless charging and the speaker built in, again, just like the AirPods Pro 2. But they also have, like I say, active noise cancelling, and it is the proper adaptive noise cancelling that you have in AirPods Pro, transparency mode, and conversation awareness, which is when if you start talking and you're listening to something, it recognises the fact you're talking and it dips the audio so you can hear yourself and you can hear the other person. And when you stop talking, the audio comes back up. This is where it gets confusing. So we have the AirPods 4, and then we have the AirPods 4 with active noise cancelling and all the AirPods Pro stuff, but still not the rubber tips. What they've done, from the looks of it, to differentiate AirPods 4 with noise cancelling from AirPods Pro 2, if you're still awake at the back, thank you, is add some hearing health features to the AirPods Pro 2, which I think, and again, someone might have to kind of confirm this for me, I think is coming as a software update, a firmware update for these. And this is basically, they said there's 3 new health capabilities built into AirPods Pro, which is hearing protection. So there's some machine learning thing that reduces louder noises that are around you at up to 48,000 times per second. Cool. But the big thing was the hearing test, and it's been approved by lots of very important institutions and stuff. A hearing test where you put them in and it gives you a proper detailed hearing test. And from that, it then tunes the AirPods Pro to act as hearing aids. So if you do have issues with your hearing, in theory, and they said it's clinical grade, whatever that means, this clinical grade hearing aid stuff built into the AirPods Pro 2 update will help you hear better, basically. Just about to cough. So the differentiation between AirPods 4 and AirPods Pro 2 is the fact that the latter have these hearing health things built into them. That's very cool. It's a bit confusing. I think that product line's a little bit odd, but it's very cool. And that is every Apple event throughout the year, there's always one or two things they announce which I hear and immediately think, that's for the tabloids. That's for the big national and international news outlets. Tomorrow morning, that's the thing that they'll be talking about on national radio and all that sort of stuff. That is a really, really cool addition. No idea how it works. It's something that's going to be very difficult to test from my perspective, because I'm lucky enough to have pretty decent hearing at the moment. That could change, and if it does, maybe I can give them a go, or maybe I need to get someone in who does have hearing difficulties to test it for me. But the fact they're doing that is great. And I saw someone else say this again on Twitter earlier, X, whatever it's called. They said that this is such an obvious thing to do with these kind of earbuds, because they've got all that, all the transparency mode built in and the active noise cancelling, all this adaptive audio. It makes total sense to use that technology to help people who need that with hearing. I guess what's taken this long is getting the accreditation and all that sort of stuff, so they can say it's clinical grade. But yeah, that's quite cool, I think. So, I mean, is anyone going to be buying these AirPods? Either buying the new AirPods 4 or looking forward to these new health capabilities. Are you looking forward to it? Let me know in the comments and the questions. There's so many things coming through. And loads of this might be a record already in terms of people tuning in, guys. So thank you so much. Someone else just outside of Warwick, CV35. I love that. Okay, let's have a look at some questions that we've got here. Let's have a look. Wayne. The AirPods Pro got me more excited than the phones did. I think I'll keep my iPhone 14 Pro Max. Yeah, that's interesting. I think that, like I say, that feature, that health feature with the AirPods Pro is genuinely quite interesting, I think, and arguably more interesting than the phones. I agree. What's this one here? Steve, who I think that says, can we talk about the fail that was the new audio options? No upgrades to their two highest selling in and over-ear products. Software upgrade. Okay, Steve, you've brought me in that case to AirPods Max. Let's talk about this. Someone else has said something else here. Rudge Daily News. Where are you? You've gone. There you are. Are you buying AirPods Max? 4 years wait and only Newport and colours. Big disappointment. I'm going to try and not take up the rest of this live stream with this section. But if you've most of you must have watched the channel, because why on earth would you be watching this? You'll be aware, if you have watched the channel for a number of years, that I've made loads of content about these, loads of it. And I've spent most of it being stupid and throwing the case around. I won't do that today. That joke wore out a long time ago. But the point of that joke really was, there was something behind the silliness, which is the fact that these are so close to being such an amazing pair of headphones, but they're not. They're overly expensive. They are flawed in a number of ways. One of those ways is the case, because it's not a case, it's just ridiculous. The other thing is what just happened then. When you take them out of the case, they do that, which is annoying. They're too heavy, way too heavy. They do have this thing with condensation that builds up in here, which mine do that. It's never caused a problem with them, and I think most most headphones, they are called earphones, do the same thing. You can see it on AirPods Max because you can take that off, but again, you could say that's an issue. The sound quality, which I originally thought was very good, the more I've got to try lots of different pairs of headphones, I've realised it's not as good as it should be for the money, for 500 quid, 550 quid as they used to be. What else? The canopy, this thing here, which rests on your head. Maybe it's the fact I don't have any hair, I don't know, to cushion it, but this has really, I don't know if you can see that, it's really loosened over time. It's become very kind of not as supportive, which means they're not as comfortable. And because they're so heavy, that's a problem. The things they've got going for them, I suppose, is it's mainly ecosystem related. So it's, you know, spatial audio on these is fantastic. If you watch movies on these, it's amazing. What's the other thing? There was something else. I have to think of this now, aren't I? What else is good with these? That's about it, actually. There was, transparency mode. Well, actually, two things. The noise cancelling is very good, but the transparency mode on these, which, you know, lets the outside world in, is still the best I've ever heard. I've tried most headphones over the last 3 years or so that have come out, and none of them come anywhere close to these in terms of transparency mode. I don't know why. I don't know why other manufacturers find it so hard to match what these can do with transparency, but that's not enough to spend 500 quid or $500 on them. It really, really isn't. So these came out in December 2020, which was right at the start of me building this channel. So they mean quite a lot to me in terms of what they've done for this business, because, as I say, I've made lots of videos about them, and you guys have watched and commented and liked them, and thank you so much. So they mean a lot to me in that, but that shouldn't skew what I think about them as a product. So that's nearly, as near as makes no difference, 4 years ago. And as several of you have pointed out on here, they've had 4 years to do something, to either forget about them and move on, or do something better. So, you know, improve the case, make them lighter, make sure this doesn't degrade over time like it clearly does, get rid of the condensation issue if it is a problem, and a few other, get the sound better, get them sounding better. The AirPods Pro 2, for instance, the quality difference between with the sound of the AirPods Pro 2 versus the original AirPods was massive. I made a big thing about it because it was a big thing. These sound superb to the previous generation, so they can do this. They know what they're doing with this stuff. So we wait 4 years, and they just give us a new pair that have new. They're not even a new pair. It's just new colours and USB-C, because these have Lightning, obviously. As far as I can tell, and I am going to get a pair because I want to see if they've hidden something in terms of the sound. Maybe they've done something and they haven't told us about it, although that would be weird, wouldn't it? But as far as we can tell, based on what they've told us today, we're getting new colours and USB-C charging, and that's it. I assume the case is the same. Who knows? Maybe it's not. Maybe it comes with a proper case now. Maybe. I'll find out when I buy a pair. But it's really frustrating, and there are so many good headphones out there. Someone pointed out, I think it was someone in this team actually, Chris, said while we were watching it that it's as though, well, it's not as though, that they have put far more effort into Beats than they have their own headphones. I won't say the same about the AirPods, because they're doing so much with these, which is amazing. But when it comes to over-ears, yeah, frustrating. I would guess lots of you are frustrated as well, but maybe you're not. Who's going to buy it? Who's glad they've done this with AirPods Max? Is it a good thing? You do see a lot of people wearing AirPods Max these days. You really do. Let's have a look. Johnny Beadle says, the ecosystem stuff is the thing that made AirPods Max good. That's pretty much what we agree on that, Johnny. But now they don't even keep up with Apple's own features, still stuck with Hey and no adaptive audio or conversation. That's true, they don't have that, do they? Do they not have the adaptive? They don't, because that came after these, didn't it? And the conversation, that's a really good point. The conversation awareness isn't in them either. There's so many things that these do, AirPods Pro 2, that these don't. I made a video about this quite a while ago. I compared, I've had lots of stick for this because people couldn't understand why I did this, but I compared these against these, and these won because of things like that. Yeah, you're right. I struggled to list good stuff about them a moment ago, and that's for a very good reason. Any other question? Any other things here about AirPods? There's something AirPods related here. Sergio says, I feel like one of the few peeps that actually enjoyed the watch. Excited for new AirPods Pro features. Great, cool. I love it when people enjoy things. It's great. I think I'm the same as you. I think I enjoyed. I'm excited about getting that new watch. And the AirPods Pro stuff is good, but the AirPods Max stuff, I think, is unforgivable. I think they should have done. We deserve more than that, because people are buying them. That's the thing. So that was the AirPods stuff. Are you saying anything more about this? What's this about Sony? Wilson94 says, you consistently find my Sony buds and headphones do everything AirPods do and sound better, except switch devices. That's the other thing, switching devices. So again, like any AirPods, the AirPods Max do switch between all your Apple stuff seamlessly, so that they have that benefit. But you're saying that your Sony buds and headphones tend to sound better. Again, sound is very subjective, as I always say, but well, there you go. That's another example of someone who's enjoying something else more so than AirPods Max. Don Covin says, glad I grabbed a pair of Refurb Max for a good price. I think that's what a lot of people are doing. I don't know about you guys, but I've seen so many more people wearing AirPods Max in the gym, which is weird, as in working out with them on. Don't do that. But yeah, just walking around the street, and particularly in London. London seems to be full of people wearing AirPods Max. So people are buying them. But again, it comes down to they've got a fabrication process for these, and they've got a manufacturing line which hasn't changed since 2020. So I would guess it's more profitable now than ever. If you're Tim Cook, you're going to look at that and think, well, if they come to him and say, well, Tim, we could make these sound a lot better and we could get a better case, he's going to say, well, how much is it going to cost to research and develop that? No, thanks. He looks at his sales figures; they're still going like that. I'm not suggesting, Tim, if you're watching this, you won't be, but if you get bored one night and you start watching this live stream, the replay of it, and you get to this bit, I don't know if that's the case for definite, but get involved actually in the comments. Leave a comment, Tim. Imagine if you did that. That'd be unbelievable, wouldn't it? Okay, so that was the AirPods. Let's talk iPhones. In fact, let's just go into let's clear out in the nicest possible way some of these questions here. Pug63, this was the first comment that was left early, I think, before we went live. Looking forward to this. Still hopeful for a 7th generation iPad mini. I've got mine here, not the 7, the 6 here. The battery's, I think, going on it. It just needs replacing. I think we're going to get one. I don't know anything, obviously, but I think we are going to get one. I hope we are, anyway. Wilson94, my main takeaway is that the software isn't ready for iOS. Lots of it's coming at some point. Yeah, there was a bit of that, wasn't there? We'll come on to that, I think, when we talk about the phones, but I know exactly what you're saying. A3P Tech, ditching titanium back to aluminium is interesting. They didn't do that, did they? The new phones aren't aluminium, are they? Is the Pro and Pro Max aluminium now? Did I miss that? I should know. Is that the case? Someone tell me, quick. We'll come on to that in a minute. Eric, did you notice that Apple abandoned the fine woven cases, only clear or silicone now? I never got one of those fine woven cases, but I hear they were terrible, so no surprise there. iPhone 16 Pro Max versus Pixel 9 Pro XL, your thoughts? Well, I've not had, I very much live by the mantra that you shouldn't review anything until you've had your hands on it. So because I've not had my hands on the 16 Pro Max, I can't compare it with the 9 Pro XL. I have had my hands on the 9 Pro XL, as you may have seen in my video. And it's a lovely phone. It's a really, really, really lovely phone. So it's got quite a lot to beat, actually, in terms of the iPhone 16 Pro Max. It really has. So let's talk about the iPhone very quickly. So not very quickly. Let's very quickly recap. So the 16 and 16 Plus. Very first thing that loads of these Apple people said was the fact that the iPhone 16 lineup this year has been built. It's the first iPhone to be built, obviously, to be built from the ground up for Apple Intelligence. They kept saying that. That was a very, very important thing for them to keep getting across. But yeah, the 16 and 16 Plus, 50% tougher glass, so very tough. 2000 nits of peak brightness. I can't refer to what the 15 was, so I don't know how much brighter that is, but I think it is a bit brighter. Same sizes, 6.1 and 6.7 inch. They now have the action button, which is cool. They didn't have that before, or did they have that before? I've completely taken my eye off the ball with the regular iPhones, which I will rectify that this year, because I'll be getting the 16 in the regular 16. Partly because my girlfriend needs it as a new phone, but also because I do think I should cover it. And then we have the camera control button, which is this button they've placed on, is it that side or is it that side? It must be, it's down, is it down here? I don't know. But basically it's a kind of haptic / clicky button thing, which you can use for all manner of camera controls. It's got touch control, so you can slide your finger on it. You can half press it, I think, although that might be something that's coming later in the year, possibly. I think I caught that at some point. And yeah, if you kind of gently press it, you get like a little, the display dips down and you get controls like aperture and, you know, all sorts of stuff. So that looks quite cool. What else? That was, in terms of the iPhone, the regular iPhone 16. Oh, the A18 chip, obviously the new chip, 17% more system memory bandwidth. 3nm process, 6-core CPU, 30% faster than the iPhone, yada, yada, yada. It's faster than the competition, apparently. 5-core GPU, which is desktop class. I bet lots of proper desktop PC gaming people had a good chuckle at that. Camera system, it's 48 megapixel main camera, 2x telephoto, ultra wide, which has 2.6 times more light capture than before. It's got the macro mode now. You can shoot spatial photos and videos with it for your Vision Pro, if you've got Vision Pro. Has anyone here got Vision Pro? Probably not. And a bigger battery. And they did say a big boost in battery life. That was a quote I put down. So that was the iPhone 16. Not a massive upgrade. You know, a new chip, new button, tweaked camera system, bigger battery, bosh. Again, what could they do? The one thing that they did do, they've moved the camera layout on the back from can I show you that? From being like that to being like that, basically. And I think someone pointed out the reason they've probably done that is because they want to be able to shoot spatial video with it, and that maybe that array works for that. Who knows? So that was the 16, and then the 16 Pro and 16 Pro Max have the Pro Max has the largest iPhone display ever at 6.9 inches, the thinnest bezels, although they call them borders because they don't want to say bezels, do they? Thinnest bezel on any Apple product. It is titanium, I've just seen. Larger battery, and the Pro Max has the best iPhone battery life ever, and it needs to, because in my experience anyway, the iPhone 15 Pro Max doesn't have a very good battery, particularly compared to the Android competition. A18 Pro chip, loads of really boring stats about that. What else? The camera system is interesting. I don't think the camera hardware has been tweaked much. Little tweaks here and there, but the big thing was this 4K 120. So you can now with the, I think it's both the Pro and the Pro Max. Hope it is anyway. You can shoot 4K video at 120 frames per second, and if you're into your cameras and stuff, you'll know what that means. If you don't know what that means, it's basically shooting at a very, very high frame rate. And if you do that, you can slow it down, and because there's so many frames packed in there, it's not jerky. It's smooth and lovely and slow. And 120 4K 120 is quite a big deal. You know, the camera that I use in here, my FX3, this one here as well, they shoot at an uncropped 4K 120, so you don't lose any of the image. You used to need some fairly beefy hardware for that. Clearly these days you don't. It wasn't clear that they didn't mention if it crops in at all. Hopefully it doesn't. That's impressive, and they showed a video for the weekend that was shot entirely on iPhone, which did look amazing. It was also in a studio with multiple thousands of pounds worth of lighting gear and very talented people in it, but it looked good, admittedly. And then there's some audio things as well. So there's 4 studio quality mics now in the Pro and Pro Max. You can capture spatial audio, and they've got this thing called Audio Mix, where you can shoot some video. For instance, as the demo showed, in a busy restaurant with 2 characters at the bar talking, and it uses machine learning again to pick out the voices, the voice tracks, and suppress the background noise a little bit, and then you can change the effects processing on the voices. So you can have a studio version where it's very dry and it gets rid of all the room echo and stuff, and a couple more, like a cinema one which did something, and then another one which kind of just focused or honed in on the voices and kept a lot of the room ambience. Very cool. I don't know who's going to use that stuff. I won't ever use it. I guess if you do make a lot of people, they must be doing this for. They're doing this for one of 2 reasons. One of them is because they're running out of ideas, or the other they need to do something to talk about. Or more likely, I think it's that they know that a lot of people are increasingly using the iPhone in fairly pro recording production setups, or very kind of enthusiastic amateurs, and for that, then the tools that you get with these, even just the 15 Pro Max, you can do so much with this from a production perspective that you couldn't do previously. But now it's even more impressive, basically. So there was that, and then finally, MagSafe. They didn't tell us how much faster it is, but the charging now is faster. There's a faster charger, and it's Qi 2 certified as well, supported. So there's more options when it comes to wireless charging, and that was basically it. The pricing, I've not compared the pricing with last year. I don't know. I think the iPhone 16 is the same price, and the Plus. I don't know if the Pro and Pro Max is more expensive. Let me know if you saw that. But that was the phone, and I'm getting both. So I'm getting the regular 16, not the Plus, but the 16 and the Pro Max, as I always get the Pro Max. Right, now over to you guys for the rest of this live stream, because like I say, this is where the good stuff is. I'll come on to what I'm doing with the iPhone soon in a moment. Jonathan, do you think the standard 16 is now a more attractive proposition than the Pro? For most people, yes. I think it's a very good question, because they have added lots of stuff. You've got a much better camera system. I think it's the camera system from the Pro and Pro Max from last year, I think. Very good camera system. It was good before, but even better now. It's got I think the regular 16 has got most of the stuff that you want. You'd only really go for the Pro and Pro Max if you do a lot of content stuff with your phone, I think. If you either audio or there was a voice notes thing as well, wasn't there, for people who, I know a lot of people do this. Singers will sketch out ideas on their phone. You can now isolate your voice from the guitar that you're playing and stuff. Very clever stuff, but that's quite a niche audience. So I think that's the only reason you'd go for the Pro Max, is if you're in that niche audience, really, or if you want the biggest iPhone ever, which is 6.9 inches. Who knows? Other than that, yeah, I think you're right. I think the 16 it's a great looking phone. That's partly why I want to get it and get a good idea of what it's like, because it's a great looking phone. It does so much stuff. It's not cheap, but it's still relatively well priced for what you're getting in Apple land. So yeah, I think it is probably a better option for most people. Handcraft Pictures. As a videographer who travels a lot, I think the new video capabilities are just enough for me to upgrade my 12 Pro, as I can see this being a usable extra camera when trying to travel light. I think if you've got a 12 Pro, I assume you mean the 16 Pro Max or the 16 Pro. Massive upgrade, not just for the camera system. You're getting a lot of other stuff as well. So, but the camera system, from your perspective, will be a huge upgrade. And what they call the capture button, brilliant. Such an obvious thing. We should have had that a long time ago. A lot of Android phones have either had this in the past or still have it. The most obvious one is the Sony Xperia stuff. They normally have a physical button which has a half press like you get on a normal camera, to focus and that sort of thing. So I think very, very good for someone like yourself. A very good upgrade. I would definitely recommend that. Whatever happened to the talk of an iPhone Ultra? I don't know, Bill. That was one of those rumours, wasn't it? That would have been interesting, wouldn't it? I would have been all over that if they brought out a rugged iPhone which was marketed in the same way as the Apple Watch Ultra. The money would disappear from my bank account immediately, because that just sounds awesome. Completely pointless. A bit like the Apple Watch Ultra, because as I've always said, people who do the stuff in the Apple Watch Ultra promotional videos don't wear Apple Watch Ultras, they wear Garmin's. Totally. It's like, people who buy Defenders around here. There's so many Defenders around here, and they're all driven from someone's house to the nursery and back. That's it. So yeah, I think that it would be the same. It would be the same ridiculous allure for an iPhone Ultra. But I don't know what happened to it, Bill. Who knows? Maybe it was just pie in the sky, as they call it. Craig, on a Magic V3 or iPhone 16 Pro, I was really hoping for a fold device. So yeah, I've got it here actually. The iPhone. No, imagine that. The Honor Magic V3, which is I think it's the best foldable on the market that I've tried. I've not tried them all, by the way. I've not tried the Oppo thingy yet and various other ones. But is this working? Or the OnePlus Open, rather. That's not really focusing. But this is a stupidly thin, very light, but very tough foldable phone that I think is incredibly good. I can't compare it against the iPhone 16 Pro because I haven't used it. So until I get that in my hands, I don't know. But they're very difficult things to compare. Comparing something that does that, or I've got the Pixel here as well, the new Pixel Fold. I'll use this one because it's on. Comparing something like that, this isn't on, I've just realised, to that, they're very different devices. So tricky, but and in terms of an iPhone Fold, I don't think we're ever going to see it. I think there's way too many compromises that you have to make for a foldable for Apple to be happy with it. So I just don't think that's going to happen. Andrew, what does Apple need to do next to move the needle at these events? It depends what you mean by move the needle. They think they're moving the needle, don't they? They're confident they are, and hopefully they are. I mean, hopefully all this Apple Intelligence stuff, which was the backbone of everything they talked about today, really, hopefully that is going to be what they're pitching it as being. I don't know. Again, I've not used it yet, so I cannot comment on that. I don't know what they need to do. I've said this before. I don't envy any of these tech brands, these manufacturers, because all of this stuff reached its peak ages ago, I think, really, particularly performance, camera stuff, even the interoperability between the devices and the ecosystem. It's been so good for so long. Every year you have to keep coming up with new things, and I just don't know what. I'm glad I don't have that. There's a reason I don't have that job, because I would be completely out of ideas. Sergio says the new capture button looks awesome. I think the button is one a lot of people will get a lot of use out of. I completely agree. I think it's a great little addition. I think it's a better addition than the action button, which is a bit of a damp squib, as they say. What was the biggest surprise for me at the event? What was the biggest surprise? I think it was actually, stupidly, a bit naively, the tepid, the pointless AirPods Max update. I think that surprised me, because I saw yesterday, I think Mark Gurman mentioned that we were going to see new AirPods Max today, and I got all excited about it. I thought, oh, brilliant, this is it. We're going to get a really interesting pair of AirPods Max with new case and loads of stuff to talk about. I built it up in my head, to the point where the actual announcement was a disappointment. So I think that was my biggest surprise, that it was literally just a new colour and USB-C. Useless. Diane, how many phones do you have? Loads. Too many. There's 3 here. There's about 30 in the drawer over there. Some of these review units do go back. They get requested to go back. Some of it we've had to buy. Not looking for violins, by the way. Most of these phones do get provided as review units these days. But a lot of them we just get to keep because they never ask for them back. And it's handy. It's handy for comparison purposes, but it is just a great big drawer of unused phones, which is a shame. And there's probably all sorts of environmental things that aren't great about that, but it's just part and parcel of this job. But yeah, I have a lot. I don't switch them very often, if you're wondering either. I don't. It's annoying switching phones, so I tend to stick with one going forward. Which actually, let me very quickly cover that because the question earlier. Will I switch back to the iPhone now that we have the iPhone 16? Yes, I will be switching back to it, but I'm really torn because my main phone for the last, in fact, it's not on me, it's over there. My main phone for the last couple of months has been the Fold 6, the Z Fold 6. We do say Z in this country. And before that was the S24 Ultra, and before that was the iPhone 15 Pro Max. I've completely got used to Android. I've realised that the operating system doesn't really matter. They all do the same thing. It's just the way they work is different, and then you get used to the way that the one that you're using works. I don't really miss the Apple ecosystem as much as I thought I would. The ability, AirDrop is very useful, but I've somehow got on with it. It's not ruined my life. I've just cracked on. I'm just very used to these Android phones now. And I also have access to these brilliant Fold. I love this. I've not done my review of this yet, apart from on the website. That's coming this week. But this is such a good phone, the Fold, and I'm very tempted to make that my main phone. But then I'm thinking, well, actually, no, I need to go back to the iPhone. And the reason I need to go back to the iPhone is because I'm going back to the Apple Watch. I've got to test that properly. So I think it'll be a 2-phone thing again. So I think I'll have the iPhone 16 Pro Max, I think, as my main phone. And then probably a foldable of some kind as my Android device. That's probably what I'm going to do. But yeah, I've always been heading back to the iPhone. That was the narrative of this whole thing, guys. You're not stupid. You probably know this. There's a character arc where I was the iPhone guy. I switched to Samsung, knowing full well that by September I'd be going back to the iPhone because that is it's not exactly Hollywood. It's a rubbish film, but it's a character arc. David, is it the David James? Are you the David James? You don't have to answer that, because if you are, you may not want to reveal it, but it'd be cool if you... It doesn't matter if you're not. It'd be cool if you're not the real David James. I've dug a bit of a hole for myself there, I've just realised. It doesn't matter which David James you are. I just saw David James and thought, is that the David James? And if you follow football, you know who I'm referring to. What do you think of the iPhone 16 compared to the Google Pixel 9? I'm thinking of leaving Apple. Again, I can't really comment on the iPhone 16 because I've not used it, but bearing in mind it's probably not that different to the iPhone 15. What does it come down to? It comes down to the ecosystem. Are you tied into the ecosystem? If you get rid of your iPhone, will you then miss your Apple Watch, for instance, or will you be annoyed by the fact that whatever phone you get doesn't connect quite as easily with your Mac or your Apple TV? If that's the case, you won't enjoy the Pixel at all. It'll be really annoying. If you're not that tied in with the ecosystem, I think it comes down to the camera. I think that's the next thing. And the Pixel versus the iPhone, there's quite a big difference between the images those two devices spit out. For me, the Pixel wins hands down every time with photos. I've always said that. It's still the case now with the Pixel 9. Yeah, I think it comes down to those two things. It's a very hard thing to... It's a very personal thing, I think is what I'm trying to say. Red Light 79. Did Mark just give away that the watch he was wearing is the new Apple Watch, but it's under embargo? Hence why he has to switch back to the iPhone. You can call me Sherlock. No, it wasn't that. No, it's a... What can I tell you about it? It's got a circular face. That's all I'll say. No, I don't have the Apple Watch Ultra under embargo. That would be cool. Sorry, the new Apple Watch under embargo. That would be cool, wouldn't it? But I haven't. No, afraid not. You can still be Sherlock though. That's fine. Wilson94. Would you consider doing a video on how you manage ecosystems? I'm tempted by Android all the time, but dread moving away from iOS and Mac and the ease of use between the two. So that comes back to what I just said a moment ago. I think I'd struggle to do a video on this because it's so simple for me. I just don't use the ecosystem anymore, really. Okay, I mean, I might switch my AirPods between devices, but that's it, actually. My guess, Wilson94, is that you might be like me. You might, and I was convinced I couldn't leave the iPhone. I'd really regret it. For the first 2 or 3 days, I was a bit annoyed with a few things, but that just disappeared, and I just got on with life. If you're busy, we're all busy at work, busy in our social lives, etc. These things just become, they are tools. I guess most people who are watching this live stream have more of a vested interest in this stuff because it's tech, and we all love tech, but they are still just tools. And particularly if you use I don't know if you do, but if you use your phone for work as well, it just has to work, really, and they all work. All of these phones, whether it's Android, iPhone, whatever, they just work. I would just say have a go for it, try it, just do it for 6 months, a year if you can, and I almost guarantee you won't miss the iPhone. I don't think you will. Yeah, come back and tell me how you get on. Matthew, where you gone? Matthew, why no coloured AirPods? Is this strictly for marketing to keep them white? I don't know. I'd love to have a different colour. I'd love to have a black pair, or I love orange stuff, as you can tell. Oh, this is papaya, isn't it? But I love leery coloured things, and you can. I don't know. They've all. I think it's a branding thing. I'm fairly sure it's probably a marketing. There's probably a rule somewhere within Apple's, great big manuals of compliance, which state that AirPods have to be white. I guess, I don't know. I think that's probably what it is. Are the Pro models bigger in size, or is it just the screens that are bigger due to slimmer bezels? I don't know. Someone may have worked that out already on the old stats page, on the specification pages. My guess is they're probably a little bit bigger, but it may not be that noticeable. I wouldn't have thought. I think the reduction in the bezels will have made a big difference, but I would guess they would have had to make them a bit bigger as well. How long would you use an iPhone before upgrading? If I was a normal person in terms of not doing this for a living, I would keep it for at least 2 years. I wouldn't upgrade every year. I never used to. Before I started doing all this stuff, I'd keep my phone for 2 years, sometimes longer, depending on what was going on financially, because they're not cheap. But yeah, often it's tied in with contracts, isn't it? With your carrier. I'd say 2 years. There's no reason whatsoever to upgrade from the 15 to the 16, or the 15 Pro Max to the 16 Pro Max. That would be an utter waste of money. Yeah, that's my official buying guidance on that. What's this one here? Does anyone care about processor upgrades when Apple never utilizes the hardware in their phones ever? Throw an M4 in the iPhone and call it a day. I did wonder if they'd put an M chip in there, but they didn't, did they? Does anyone care about? I don't think anyone does. If you've seen any of my recent smartphone reviews, the point at which I get to talking about chips and performance, it's just a moot point for me because I don't do benchmarks. I don't find those interesting at all. There's not much you can say apart from the fact they just feel great in everyday use. For normal work, they just do. There's so much. I guess what you're saying here, there's so much headroom in there. There's so much power in there that if you're just using them to text your mates and doom scroll on Twitter and watch TikTok for 3 hours and Google the hotel you're staying at the weekend and reply to your mum via email. If that's all you're doing, then all of these phones are great. So in answer to your question, no, I don't think people do care. Yeah, some people do. Some people do care about that stuff, but I don't. Apparently my video is a little bit laggy. If it is, that's probably the internet connection here. Apologies. But yeah, that's... we need to get the internet sorted in this studio. It's a nightmare at times. Rory, do you think Apple will do a smart ring in the future? Yes, I think they will. I think it's pretty much inevitable. This is the Ultra Human ring, by the way. We're waiting on the Galaxy ring. That should be coming as well, the Samsung version. It's not really for me. I've just been wearing this out of habit now, but I've been wearing it for the last few months because technically I'm testing it. I will be featuring it in some kind of video at some point, but I haven't really paid much attention to the stats it gives me. And also, the most annoying thing with it is that I have to take it off. I take it off my finger when I'm working out because, one, you can't use it when you're lifting weights. If you're lifting weights, dumbbells and things, it scratches up. Although it scratches up anyway, so doesn't really matter. But and also it doesn't really track your fitness. It doesn't track your activities. You still have to do that on your phone, which makes you wonder what the point of them is. I guess from skin temperature, heart rate, sleep monitoring. If you don't like wearing a watch either all the time or just I know people don't always like wearing watches in bed because it's uncomfortable. They're a great option, but I think because Samsung's done it. You've got these smaller brands like Ultra Human and Ringcon and a few others that are doing it. And there's been so many rumours about the Apple Ring. I think we'll see it. I do think it will arrive at some point, possibly next year, maybe. I think that the Apple Watch update this year has been big enough for Apple for something different to appear next year. I think really. Unless it's new MacBooks, it's just so difficult to get excited, isn't it? A little bit, yeah. I mean, I enjoy covering this stuff because it's what I do for a living. But on the out, it must be a bit boring if you're just watching it from a consumer, just a general interest point of view. It must be. Phil, what about the lack of a new iPad mini? Well, we were never going to see that. I'd have been amazed if that had happened today. So I don't think Apple has ever launched a phone and an iPad at the same time. There's lots of rumours about the iPad mini 7, so many that it seems to be fairly inevitable that we're going to see it at some stage, I think, before the end of the year. I really hope we do, for numerous reasons. So I'm not worried that we haven't seen it today. I think if we do see it, I think we'll see it next month. What is next month? October. Yeah, possibly next month. And I think it'll be a press release type thing. I don't think they'll do an event for the iPad mini unless they have other iPads on the way. Who knows? Matthew, will you be doing a dedicated compare video between the Pixel 9 Pro XL and the iPhone 16 Pro Max? I don't know. Those comparison videos don't always do very well, unfortunately, and they're quite. There's a lot of production overheads, and they take quite a long time to make, basically. And if that's the case, they have to work. They have to perform in terms of views, etc. And my last experience with that, I think, was with the S23 Ultra and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And it just tanked a bit, that video. I was surprised. It put me off a little bit, but I'll think about it. I will think about it. Marcella, considering you have the small iPad Pro version, would you go for the Pro, not the Pro Max? No, again, if I wasn't doing this job, I may go for the Pro. I'd probably go for the regular 16, actually. But the reason I go for the Pro Max is because it tends to do very well in terms of content. Hands on the table. That's the reason we do this stuff. We want to get that audience in, and the Pro Max is just the aspirational product, and those aspirational products tend to do very well in terms of content. MIB or MIB 910 says, I wonder if Apple's next big thing it'll be a mix of Siri and AI device based on vocal, visual and physical commands. They do implement these gestures with all Apple devices. It does seem to be going that way, doesn't it? And there's been lots of rumours about this HomePod with a screen type thing that you put in the kitchen or wherever, and it follows it moves around. We've seen these already from the likes of Amazon and Facebook, Meta and a few others. But there's enough rumours to suggest we may see something like that. And I think we need to. I think with Apple Intelligence now on the horizon, it's got to happen. The regular HomePods are still terrible because of Siri. I've put the one that was in the studio back at home now, and it's still terrible when it comes to Siri. So it will need to change. Peter, will the AirPods Max get those newly announced features? I don't think they will, Peter. I think it's literally the same hardware. I think all they've done is paint them a different colour, stick USB-C in there, and that's it. May not be the case, and that's why I've got a pair on order. I will do a video on them, which is going to be very interesting. Maybe there's a surprise in there. Maybe they've just given us a very quick overview, and actually the sound's better, the noise cancelling is better. Maybe there's a new case, possibly. Maybe they are getting those features. If they are, that's a more interesting story. I just think they would have said if that was the case, I think. Wavy says, what do you think about the upcoming M4, M4 Pro and M4 Max MacBooks? Can't get very excited about the MacBooks, to be honest, because it's what I've got here, which is the M3 version with the M4 in it. So it's not very exciting. What is exciting is the rumours of the refreshed Mac Mini. There's one there. Completely redesigned. They're saying that it's going to look like a tall Apple TV, apparently, which will be interesting for people who have been rack mounting those things for years. But for me, selfishly, I'm very excited about that. The idea of a redesigned Mac Mini, maybe in some leery colours, orange, whatever. A black Mac Mini would be great, wouldn't it? Maybe they could do a satin black Mac Mini. The idea of that is very exciting. So the MacBooks, Mac Mini, yeah, very, very interested in that, because I have a very specific use case for it, which I've written about and talked about, but it would be used for that as well. Todd, do you think sleep apnea tracking will come to last year's Watch Ultra 2? I'm fairly sure I heard that. Again, in the comments, chats, people who are paying more attention than me get involved, but I think it will. But I'm not sure, so don't take that for red. Matthew, do you think we will finally see the transcript feature similar to that of voicemail or notes mentioned in Final Cut Pro? That would be nice, Matthew, wouldn't it? I don't use Final Cut Pro anymore because I don't edit my videos anymore. So it's less of a, again, selfishly, it's less of concern for me. But I do know that Final Cut Pro is lagging behind the competition, particularly with this kind of AI stuff. So I hope so, genuinely, for people who are still using Final Cut Pro. From the lack of updates and feel of abandonment by Apple with the iPad Mini, I think they will replace it with the iPhone Fold. That's an interesting concept, isn't it? But then we'll have to wait. How long are we waiting for that? That's going to be next year. There was no iPhone Fold today, was there? So I hope not. I hope that's not the case. I mean, an iPhone Fold is an interesting product to cover from my perspective, but I want a new iPad Mini because I know how many people want it. And if that many people want it, it's good for me as well. I went into the event expecting to either pick up an updated AirPods Max or a new 16 or 16 Pro. Apple saved me a ton of money because I've decided to just replace the battery in my 13. I'd imagine there's quite a few people today who have just saved a lot of money, that's a good thing about this kind of thing, actually, isn't it? I think if they do let us down and they don't announce the things that you've been waiting to buy, it makes you question your motives for buying it. You may have just been wanting that thing. Did you need it? Probably not. From the sounds of your situation, this new battery is going to sort it out, and you could have spent a lot of money today, and you didn't because you weren't excited enough. So every cloud, as they say. I've exhausted all the questions that we've favorited there. Have we got anything else in here? Is there anything else I've missed? I haven't really talked much about Apple Intelligence. The only thing to mention about that I noticed was that it's arriving firstly in beta, and we do say beta, whatever. It'll be in beta, and equally, it's only in US English to begin with. I think it's accessible elsewhere, but it will be only recognising it will only use US English, and I think it's December when it's coming to UK English is then going to be integrated into it, and various other English speaking countries rather, and then next year I think Chinese and some other languages were going to be built into it, but there were no firm dates, so it sounds like it's going to be a bit of a slow rollout. And who knows when it will come out of beta and be a non-beta thing. I'm very open-minded about Apple Intelligence. I'm excited to use it, but I'm very, very open-minded. I've noticed new AirPods don't even have a cable in the box. What's your opinion? Oh, interesting. You've dug deeper than me. Do the current ones have a cable? They do, don't they? They do come with a cable. Does it matter? I mean, we've all got so many USB-C cables. I have, obviously, because of all the stuff that comes through the studio. But even people who don't run content businesses with loads of stuff coming through the door, I'd guess most people have got a spare USB-C cable, haven't they? It's cutting down on waste, isn't it? And packaging and all. It's all the green effort. It's all to do, basically, with their 2030 carbon neutral thing, I think. All this stuff. Rory Saunders says, you keep waiting for one more thing. I don't think you'll be waiting a long time, Rory. I don't think that's never going to happen. that was a different era, wasn't it? It really was. Actually, quite nice, Rob. Hello, Rob. Good Lord, are you still? I am still going, Rob. I don't know how I'm still going. The podcast on Friday will be interesting. By the way, the 8 or 16 podcast hasn't disappeared. This is Rob. If you weren't aware, Rob, my co-host, Rob. We've changed it a little bit, and I might as well announce it now, mightn't I? We're going live. We're doing this with the 8 or 16 podcast for a couple of reasons, all boring internal stuff. But yeah, we'll be live basically on Fridays, rather than it will still be pre-recorded on the podcast network, but yeah, Rob and myself will be live. So I am still going, Rob. I don't know how. My voice is pretty much gone, but there you go. Samantha, that is lovely of you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let me bring up your question. You're getting the Max in Starlight, aren't you? I haven't even thought about the colour, actually. I've forgotten what the colours were. What were they? I think the more interesting colour, as always, is the standard 16. We've got this pink, green, blue, white, black. They look like really interesting colours, whereas the ones, did I take a photo of a screenshot rather? I did, yeah. Really boring colours for the Pro and Pro Max. So it's Starlight. Is that a gold one? Not sure what I don't know yet. Pre-orders are ironically on Friday the 13th. I will wait until then and make a decision. Oh, you meant AirPods Max, didn't you? In Starlight. I have. Yeah, you're right. I have pre-ordered them in Starlight. You got it. Matthew, 5 terabyte or 1 terabyte? I don't know. I don't max out the storage on any of my devices these days because everything's on the cloud. I'd always go for 512 personally, but if you're going to do a lot of video work, then maybe get 1 terabyte just to be sure. I think if you're asking that question, I'd get as much as you can, just because you're clearly considering it and we're a bit worried about it. Have we got any more questions, or are we coming to? I think we're coming towards the end. What's this here? Here in Portugal, we're still waiting for the old Siri to speak Portuguese from Portugal. Really? Wow. That's not right, is it? Why? Why is it taking so long to get that? Yeah, wow. Oh dear. Okay, well, there you go. Ryan, that's very lovely as well. Thank you. I wonder if the extremely favourable trade in prices will be in the UK. It seems like they are expecting an uphill battle to sell phones this year. They probably are, aren't they? I think, again, I don't envy them with this, trying to sell these phones when everyone's got a phone from 4 years ago that works fine. Fingers crossed for trade-in prices, because I'll be trading mine in. That will get traded. I think I do that every year with Apple. I tend to trade the phone back in, and normally the price it's okay. It's sometimes a bit, really, but it seems, compared to a lot of others, it seems okay. Guys, I think we're nearly getting towards the end of this. Amazing attendance. There's still 328 people after an hour and 18 minutes. I can't believe it. I genuinely can't believe it. Rob's got some bad news about trading prices. They're not. Trading in an iPhone 15 Pro Max for the 16 Pro Max is 30 quid less than the 14 Pro Max to the 15 Pro Max last year. Rob knows what he's talking about with this, because Rob manages to buy everything he's ever bought for at least 50% less than it retails at somehow. That's not the exact figure, but he doesn't pay anything for anything, basically. So he's just, yeah. Rob knows what he's talking about. I'm going to put this up. Yes. I never do that on live streams, do I? Hit subscribe, hit like. I don't think I've ever said that on a live stream, but that's part of the reason I get you on here, to try and get you to subscribe. And I don't ask you to. So if you haven't subscribed yet, although I'd guess most of you guys are probably subscribed, because why wouldn't you be? You've got the notification and everything. But if you're not, for some reason, if you just come across me on YouTube, or if I've popped up in your feed and you like this random British guy with a nondescript British accent waffling on about Apple incoherently and with a voice that is clearly on the way out, then hit subscribe, hit the bell, like, tell your mates, all that stuff. Thanks, Aaron the DJ. Did you say you and Rob are going live? We are. It won't be on Saturday. So the podcast itself, as in the normal audio-only podcast, will still be Saturdays every 2 weeks. But the video version of it on YouTube will be live. Not on this channel. It's on the 8 or 16. In fact, go and check that out, guys. Go and subscribe to that. 8 or 16. It's over there somewhere. Search. But yeah, we'll be doing a live stream, so that there will be some audience interaction like this. I don't think we'll get this size audience because the channel's nowhere near as big, but waffling, I do waffle. I do a lot of waffle. This is the unedited me. You normally see a highly edited version of myself. There we go. Someone has put the channel on there. I think if that was Michelle, thank you. People just do stuff now, it's great. Have we got any more questions, guys? Let's give it another 10 minutes if we can stretch that out. Get the number of people watching down to 3. One of which will be Rob, the other it will be Michelle, and one of them will be my mum probably. Let's give it 10 minutes, and then I am going to shoot off and get some sleep because I need it. Hit me. I tell you what. Hit me with any questions. It doesn't have to be about the. It's boring talking about this Apple stuff now. Hit me with any question. You got 10 minutes to ask me anything. Literally anything, bearing in mind that Michelle is the moderator, so if it's too weird, she may spare my blushes. Chuck any of the questions into the little pot, please, Michelle, and I'll answer them. I'm scared now. I always say that, and I immediately regret it, because I think, what are people going to write? And we have had a few weird questions. Like some of the very strange comments. I get some very weird comments sometimes. Completely unrepeatable. Steve, all this talk of waffles, I may be having breakfast for dinner. Go for it. I love the idea of breakfast for dinner. I quite like the other way around as well. So I was in China last week, and I kept having noodles and all sorts of stuff that I'd normally have from my local Chinese takeaway for breakfast, and it was absolutely game-changing. Do it. Tyler T, I knew there'd be some car stuff. What is your favourite car at the moment? As in my car, or just any car? If it's any, well, I've only got one car, haven't I? In terms of my favourite car at the minute, I am a bit obsessed with them. It's a bit of a cliche. I think most car people might say this at some point. It's the Porsche GT3 RS, and I'm obsessed with one in particular, which is, this sounds weird, it's Matt Watson, who runs the Car Wow channel. He's got a GT3 RS, and any content he publishes about that on his own channel I just devour, and it's just something about that car that I'll never own one. I'll probably never even sit in one, but it's this kind of finely tuned weapon, and it just looks ridiculous. Big wing on the back, and I'll stop going on about cars, but that's my favourite car at the moment, definitely. Oh, here come all the questions. Mark, have you ever visited Luxembourg? No, I want to. I want to visit everywhere. There's nowhere really, I shouldn't say that on the planet. There's a few places in the UK I don't want to visit, but that I have visited, don't want to go back to. No, I want to go, yeah, Luxembourg's on the list, definitely, at some point. Any coming conferences, exhibits you're covering soon? CES is the next official one, which is when's that? January, a little way off. There is something in between then, which I can't talk about at all, because there's something happening which is quite exciting. Hate doing that, hate saying that, but there is. But I'm answering the question. There is something. I will cover it, but I can't tell you what it is. These trips, these kind of press events and launches and things, they come out of the blue. It's a bit of behind the scenes thing for you here. You often get a couple of weeks' notice, if that. Sometimes frightening. The last China trip was 2 weeks' notice, and it happened to fall on the bank holiday weekend in the UK. So I had to leave I didn't have to. I chose to leave a family holiday. I didn't just leave my family. There were more people there as well, thankfully. But I had to leave that family holiday to go to China. So they can be very hard to fit in, but who knows when the next one will be. What other tech YouTube channels do you watch? We were talking about, so I've just come back from Berlin, IFA, which is the European equivalent of CES. Just come back from there, and there were loads of other YouTubers there. Most of the big guys were there, along with us guys, and Meet Myself, Patrick Rambles, Alex Gear and Tech. This is E, he was there as well, met him for the first time. Who else? Loads of people, Pete Matheson, and a few others. If anyone's watching this, I've forgotten you. Sorry, I've just been very tired. Ben, lover of tech, and we were talking about this sort of stuff. And most of those guys watch a lot of tech YouTube. I don't really watch anything these days. I don't watch much YouTube. The only YouTube I watch now is Matt Watson, because I'm obsessed with him, and Matt Armstrong, Matt Armstrong, who rebuilds cars. He buys crash damaged Lamborghinis and stuff and rebuilds them. He's just a brilliant young guy who just smashes the life out of this content. I don't really watch any tech. I occasionally watch Marquez's videos. I don't watch anything. I don't know. I think because I do it for a living, I've had enough of watching it myself. That's probably quite bad, isn't it? Did you buy the Osmo Pocket 3? Well, I did, and that's another way to plug the creator channel. So the numbers are dwindling now, unsurprisingly. The Mark Ellis Creator Diary, just Google it, or Michelle, someone put it into the comments, please. The Mark Ellis Creator Diary is a behind-the-scenes thing where I walk around and show you. I take you on my daily life as a creator. I was originally using the Osmo Action 4 for that, which was fine. But it gave the whole thing a bit of obviously an action cam look. And I've been lusting after one of these as a replacement for that for ages, because everyone else has got it. I think I was the last YouTuber to buy one of these. But if you're not aware, it is this little camera here, which the best way to describe it really is it's like a drone camera with a gimbal on a stick, basically. So you switch it on by doing that. Screen comes on, the gimbal kicks into life. There you can see me, or I can actually just swivel it around like that and focus on you guys instead. It's brilliant. There's some issues. It's not waterproof. It feels a bit more flimsy than the action cam that I was using, obviously. The battery life isn't quite as good as the action cam, but the image quality is so much better. And it's just a very cool little thing to use. So that is, I did go for it. I highly recommend it if you do any form of vlogging. It's a very good piece of kit. Make sure you get the Creator Combo though, because you get the DJI Mic 2 as well, and some other bits and pieces, which is nice. My voice is going, but I've got more questions to answer. What's your favourite tech device ever? Ever? Wow. Favourite tech device ever? What do I still use? It's probably the iPad Mini. I think it might just be the iPad Mini. It's the one thing in this studio that I've used the longest, I think, and it's not used for much apart from sitting over there with notes on it and bullet points and occasionally taking notes. And I love that thing. I think it's that. Possibly. Are you surprised no AirPods Pro or changes to AirPods Max? I went through that earlier, Oliver. You may have missed it, but I won't bore you with it again, but rewind if you like. Yeah, surprised, yeah. Let's put that mildly. Annoyed, I think, as well. Do you still recommend an iPad Mini 6 used at a reasonable discount? No, not at the moment. I would wait. I'd give the next 2 months first. If it doesn't come by December, it's probably not coming ever again. I think it will. I think we'll get the new one quite soon. So I wouldn't. I'd hold on that. Wilson, what cloud service do you use? iCloud, Google Drive, OneDrive, other one? We used to use Dropbox and have moved to everything to Google. Google Workspace, whatever it's called. It used to be called something else. G Suite, wasn't it, before? Everything is in Google Drive now. And it works. Whatever you think of Google, it works really well. And yeah, it just works. Sorry if this has already been answered, but are the AirPods Max worth it with Type-C? I'm planning to finally moving for my XM3s. Okay, interesting. Well, hold that thought, because I've got a pair on order. And I'm wondering if there's more to them than just the new colour and the USB-C. I'll let you know. Keep an eye on the channel. What is the go-to food in the UK? My mum lived over there as a kid when my grandfather was stationed there. Interesting. Whereabouts? Just out of interest. She talks of fish and chips and peas. Fish and chips is very common here. I don't really think we have a national dish. That might be the national dish, actually. It's either that or a Sunday roast. They don't sound great, do they? But yeah, fish, chips and peas. But the go-to food in the UK probably it's kind of that. We tend to go for more exotic things. I suppose kind of Asian food. That's very popular in the UK. I think we just tend to go for anything that's not ours, basically, whether it be American, Asian, what else? Turkish. We tend to go for stuff from other countries because it's more interesting, generally speaking. I get these sort of things a lot. Send me the honour. I can't just send phones out. I mean, I get lots of messages, kind of private messages from people saying, "Send me that iPhone 15 Pro Max," as if I'm going to go, okay, hang on, where's the Jiffy bag? What's your address? Okay. It's not the way life works. Chips, eggs, sausage and beans. It's the national dish, says A3P Tech. Yeah, we could debate the national British dish all night, couldn't we? But I'm going to collapse in a moment, I think, with this voice. Okay, let me just answer this. What advice would you give to someone wanting to visit the UK? Hang on, let me think about this. There's so much advice you could give. What advice would I give to someone wanting to... I think at the moment it's the fact that everything is expensive. It's the most expensive place I've been to in my life at the moment. I live here. Bring a raincoat, says Michelle. That's better advice. Because weather is important for all of us. Don't expect any consistency with the weather, because there isn't. It doesn't exist. It does not exist. Guys, right, I am going to wrap up now because the number is dwindling, although it's still very high. I still can't believe 236 people are watching this. Toad in the hole. That's a good shout. That's a really good shout. So I'm thinking about food now. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I did say when we did the WWDC one in the summer that I'd keep doing this whenever we have an Apple event, or I might do it occasionally for other things. And we do seem to be getting the numbers, and the interaction has been fantastic. And like I say, that completely makes these live streams. So yeah, I am going to get some sleep. Thank you, Diane. And again, if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. I promise it's worth it. There's some very interesting stuff coming up in terms of videos. We've got lots of stuff planned. And the things that happened today at that Apple event, although on the face of it, it's not very interesting, my job is to make it interesting. And there are going to be hopefully a few tongue-in-cheek videos made about this stuff, but also hopefully some genuine buying guidance, because there are people who need a new iPhone, who are thinking about buying the AirPods Max, who don't know which AirPods to buy now because there's 87 versions of them. I want to try and help with that as well. So keep tuned in and hit the bell, all that stuff, and like and yada yada yada. And thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Take care, and we will return with another live stream at some stage. But remember, 8 till 16, the first live stream for the podcast is going live on Friday this week. So go and check out the 8 till 16 channel, and you'll see not just me waffling on, but Rob waffling on with me, and that's always a good bit of fun. So anyway, I'm waffling now. I'll catch you later. Cheers, guys.